What I looking forward for my newborn? Well, I hear Chief Sex say, I think it's $500, but still up to now, I never really hear as to what is the procedure to get that, but I hold in the faith.
We are here in beautiful Scarborough asking the public their opinions on the motion for the upcoming International Women's Day debate, strengthening our childcare support systems for women and family. We're here talking to the average person, getting their feedback on how they feel about our childcare services and what we can do to do better for our women and our families.
I believe that they could open more free daycares. When I say free, I mean free. Well, the present Prime Minister she had a baby grant that they did cut the other day. That was a big help for plenty, yes, working mothers, because when you're out there and you have nobody to help you, sometimes you get paid and you ain't have to see where the money go.
It could make us too dependent, and we already have so much of a dependency syndrome. That's the bad. On the other side, things are expensive, and I know that it will help a lot of mothers.
What is your opinion in terms of the government brought about more government-assisted or free childcare services, or specifically daycare?
These days, you cannot leave your kids any and anywhere. You can't trust anybody, not even the neighbors, because there's so much incest and all these things happening nowadays that you can't really trust anybody. So I definitely agree with the daycare system being implemented on the jobs.
Because I am fortunate that I had my mom to be there for me. But there's a lot of young ladies today that don't have that support.
I think they can come up with a program that could help them the learning process to become a mom, because some of them are young mothers who doesn't know about motherhood or mother care now. And a program should help them to learn more about bringing up a family.
And there you have it. Remember, check us out live for the International Women's Day debate on the legislature's Facebook and YouTube, Friday, 27th of March at 10 a.m.
What I looking forward for my newborn? Well, I hear Chief Sex say, I think it's $500, but still up to now, I never really hear as to what is the procedure to get that, but I hold in the faith.
We are here in beautiful Scarborough asking the public their opinions on the motion for the upcoming International Women's Day debate, strengthening our childcare support systems for women and family. We're here talking to the average person, getting their feedback on how they feel about our childcare services and what we can do to do better for our women and our families.
I believe that they could open more free daycares. When I say free, I mean free. Well, the present Prime Minister she had a baby grant that they did cut the other day. That was a big help for plenty, yes, working mothers because
Who run the world, girls? Who run the world, girls? Who run the world, girls?
Niall George, presiding officer of the Tobago House of Assembly here. I'm inviting everyone to log in to our International Women's Day debate, carded for March 27th at the Assembly Legislature.
I am Nikaisha Legaton, your presiding officer for the International Women's Day Debate 2026.
My name is Kenaya Benjamin, member for Bethel Newgrange.
My name is Ashley Sandy, and I am the minority leader for Friday's debate representing Darrell Spring WIM.
Our ladies take center stage, where they will be debating on the theme, strengthening childcare support systems for women and children.
Interacting with my colleagues and the opposition has been such a whirlwind experience.
My experience in the program has been an awesome one. The ladies are energetic, excited, and filled with knowledge.
So far, my experience has been rather educational. My expectations for Friday would be to gain a new opportunity to learn different things, especially as a young woman coming up.
My experience has been very informative, a bit emotional based on the motion, and the facilitators have been very engaging. Our mentor has been a great help, and going into Friday's debate, I am quite confident.
You can log into our YouTube stream or log into the Facebook page at Assembly Legislature.
I expect a very successful debate from both sides, but may the best win.
Let us now pray. O Almighty God, as we have come together to begin our meeting of the Assembly, we humbly beseech you to grant to all our members the light and guidance of your Holy Spirit, that we may wisely take counsel together and come to such decisions as shall promote your glory and the well-being of all our citizens in this our land, so that peace and happiness, truth and justice may be enjoyed by all people. Grant this for the sake of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Oath of allegiance of a new member. Announcements by the presiding officer.
Members, I have received leave of absence from Assembly Member of Roxborough Argyle. The leave is granted.
Assembly bills sent back from cabinets. Assembly laws brought back from parliaments. Petitions. Papers. Presentation of reports from Dispute Resolution Commission, Select Committees. Questions for the Secretaries. Request for leave to motion the adjournment of the Assembly on defined matters of urgent public importance. Statements by Secretaries or Assistant Secretaries. Personal explanations. Introductions of bills. Motions relating to the business or sittings of the Assembly and moved by a Secretary or Assistant Secretary. Public business motion.
Honorable Chief Secretary, you may now stand to move the motion.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Good morning to you, Madam Presiding Officer, my esteemed colleagues, invited guests, guests seated in the public gallery, and those viewing online. Madam Presiding Officer, despite my voice, today I'm indeed and pleasure to be moving the motion this morning. And the motion reads, whereas the Tobago House of Assembly recognizes that accessible and affordable childcare is essential to the well-being of families, women's participation in the workforce, and the long-term sustainability of Tobago's population, and whereas the absence of adequate childcare facilities place a disproportionate burden on women, discourages families' formation, and contributes to the declining birth rate and population growth. And whereas the Give to Gain principle affirms that investing in childcare enables women to balance work and family life, supports child development, and creates conditions conducive to stable population growth. And be it resolved that this Honourable House calls for an expansion on equitable provisions of quality, affordable childcare facilities across Tobago. And be it further resolved that the Assembly promotes policies encouraging shared caregiving responsibilities and work-life balance, recognizing childcare investment as a strategic response to social stability and population growth. I beg to move this motion in my name.
Honourable members, the question posed. Whereas the Tobago House of Assembly recognizes that accessible and affordable childcare is essential to the well-being of families, women's participation in the workforce, and the long-term sustainability of Tobago's population, and whereas the absence of adequate childcare facilities places a disproportionate burden on women, discourages family formation, and contributes to declining birth rates and population growth challenges. And whereas the Give to Gain principle affirms that investing in childcare enables women to balance work and family life, supports child development, and creates conditions conducive to stable population growth, be it resolved that this Honourable House calls for the expansion and equitable provision of quality, affordable childcare facilities across Tobago. Be it further resolved that the Assembly promotes policies encouraging shared caregiving responsibilities and work-life balance, recognizing childcare investment as a strategic response to social stability and population growth. Member for Palliative Vale and Ms. Speyside, you may now join the debate.
Thank you again, Madam Presiding Officer. Madam Presiding Officer, I seek leave as Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts from my speech.
Member, the leave is granted.
Thank you. Madam Presiding Officer, envision your mornings becoming tightly scheduled and unforgiving. Imagine having 3 children of 3 different ages and having to make 3 different school drop-offs every morning while reaching to work for 8 a.m. Some women even have more than 3 children to care for. Madam Presiding Officer, while many are asleep, she is already at work preparing meals, organizing school books, ironing school uniform, and ensuring that each child is ready for the day ahead. Madam Presiding Officer, this places a heavy mental and emotional burden on any woman. These effects goes beyond simply tiredness. It can affect a woman's focus, mood, and overall well-being, which can also affect her interaction with co-workers and overall job performance. Another issue is postpartum depression, which research show that 19 to 23% of women experience. The data reveals a concerning trend. More than 1 in 5 women experience mental health conditions in recent years, with anxiety and depression leading as the most prevalent challenges affecting women across all age groups and backgrounds. Let us remember that if the mind is not operating in a healthy way, everything else begins to suffer. While the Division of Health and Wellness is offering family support and childcare advocate services, we are proposing that divisions throughout Tobago implement more robust policies in relation to maternity leave and even childcare leave, which allows for occasional flexibility for school events, emergencies, or unexpected sickness. We are also proposing to implement on-site childcare facility in each division, which allows employees to work with a peace of mind, knowing their children are safe, nearby, and well cared for. Having these options for women can greatly reduce stress and help improve their performance at work. The current maternity leave in Trinidad and Tobago is 14 weeks. We are proposing an additional 3 weeks, making it 17 weeks. The extended 3 weeks gives more support to mothers' mental health, especially where postpartum is often undetected. Survey shows that 50% of cases go undiagnosed. Honorable members, as I close, 42% of working women report extreme anxiety about the expectations they have to live up to. This indicates that the pressure they face in working life and family responsibilities. However, by moving this motion, women can gain support systems promoting work-life balance and creating safe space for open conversation to safeguard their well-being. I thank you.
Minority Leader Sandy, you may now join the debate.
Good day, Madam Presiding Officer. It is such a pleasure to be a part of this debate on such an honorable day. Madam Presiding Officer, it is evident that the government is adamant in having this motion moved. However, I am afraid they have forgotten to read the fine print. Whilst they propose the need for and has listed policies that they have generated, yet again to trick, oh my apologies, to encourage society into thinking they have their best interests at heart, is this really going to solve the problem, or are we just throwing salt in the wound? As minority leader, I speak on behalf of the entire minority bench, and we the minority are not in full support of this motion. Madam Presiding Officer, allow me to act on Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts from my presentation.
Member, the leave is granted.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. As it is right now, the reality of this motion lies in a number of factors, one of which is the lack of training for professionals to properly deal with and provide quality childcare services. Had the government done their research, they would know that a number of childcare facilitators lack the training to deal with certain behaviors, and as a result of this, it leads to all forms of abuse and mental illnesses. Madam Presiding Officer, some facilitators even operate without a license, according to a Newsday article posted on May 1st, 2022. I want to bring to the attention of the Chamber the Community, Residence and Nursery Act that governs legal framework for licensing, regulating, and monitoring children's homes, rehabilitation centers, which we currently have none of on the island, and foster care. Madam Presiding Officer, I would like to ask the Honorable Chief through you, are you aware that this act does not cover nurseries? Again, I'll ask, are you aware that this act does not include nurseries? How many infants must die before we act? After all, a policy can't just be seen as just a piece of paper. How can we 100% guarantee that persons are well trained and licensed, especially with regards to special needs children? According to the Children's Authority, there is also a lack of social workers on the island. 6 workers in total to deal with over 600 active cases. These social workers are measly a speck compared to the quantity of work they have to juggle, as though they are a starring act in a circus. By the time they're done, we will have to implement social workers for the social workers. As it is right, sorry, my apologies. Allow me to educate you on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which speaks to the needs every human being must achieve to feel whole within themselves. Physiological needs such as air, water, food, shelter, clothing and sleep, safety needs, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. In front of me, I have bills, grocery bills, over the past month that shows that every week, at least one everyday need for human survival has increased just within the span of 1 week. How do we expect citizens to foster all 5 levels of Maslow's hierarchy when the governing body can barely provide physiological needs, the first level for our citizens? And unlike the government, we, the minority, now wait to see with candlelight what we could see with daylight. Madam Presiding Officer, I would like to say to the Honorable Chief through you, in the words of our enslaved ancestors, appear, Honorable Chief Secretary, appear, I say, to meet us, the minority, right here. Jog your bow, Madam Presiding Officer.
Leader of Assembly Business, you may now join the debate.
Madam Presiding Officer, honorable members, distinguished guests, those in the viewing gallery and those online, good morning. I seek leave under Standing Order 42.6 to read from my extract.
Member, the leave is granted.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Affordable childcare is a crucial factor influencing the employability of women, particularly those with children of special needs. Coming from a healthcare background, I can attest to the high cost, limited availability of specialized care, and the demand for intensive caregiving as just a few of the challenges that these women face. The obtainability of affordable and accessible childcare is a key determinant of parents' involvement in the labor market. Women with special needs children, however, the challenge is more acute due to the specialized care for their children. Caring for children with disabilities often demands more time, financial resources, and emotional energy, making it difficult for these women to maintain stable employment. Many women are forced to either reduce their working hours or leave the workforce all entirely to accommodate their caregiving responsibilities. Based on ILOSTAT data, the current global rate of the female labor force participation stands at an alarming 47%, which is 25 percentage points lower than the participation rate of men. This significant gender disparity is as a result of various obstacles that women encounter, including the responsibilities associated with childcare. In turn, this leads to increased financial strain, limited career progression, and lower household income. Honorable members, attentive, responsive caregiving is critical for children with special needs, safety, and development across all stages of childhood. Although children's specific needs vary significantly by age, due to these developmental and safety needs, families' demand for care is unresponsive to price or availability. Now, we all know that all children need care. Yet, the price and availability of formal childcare significantly affects other choices that families make, whether to work and pay for formal care or to stay home, forego earnings, and care for their children. It can affect what job to take, career advancement, where to live, and whether to have more children. COFFEE 2024 postulates investing in the formal childcare sector will pay economy-wide dividends by expanding the overall supply of labor, mostly increasing maternal labor force participation by boosting the economic security of mothers and paid childcare workers and by enhancing productivity. Honorable members, investing in employer-supported childcare, such as on-site care facilities, can significantly impact the lives of mothers right here in Tobago. Reliable and affordable childcare solutions can significantly reduce the stress and anxiety associated with balancing work and family responsibilities. A lack of affordable, accessible, and high-quality childcare often forces parents, particularly mothers, to reduce their work hours or pass up promotions or professional development opportunities, all of which harm their own.
Remember, your time has expired.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move that 2 additional speaking time be given to the member to finish her presentation.
Members, the question put is that an additional speaking time of 2 minutes be given to the member to finish her presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say nay. Member, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. It is up to us as policymakers to ensure that the childcare sector works for parents and, in this case, those with special needs. Investing in affordable and accessible childcare does not just directly benefit families, but also the broader Tobago economy, particularly by boosting the labor supply of mothers and improving their economic security. I thank you.
Minority Councillor Duncan, you may now join the debate.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. In keeping with Standing Order 42.6, I seek leave to read extracts from my presentation.
Member, the leave is granted.
Madam Presiding Officer, the honorable members of this House, my fellow Tobagonians, good morning. This motion is well-intentioned, but intention alone does not make good policy. So we, on the minority bench, must ask a simple question. Is this proposal practical? Is it sustainable? And does it stand in reality and sound research? Madam Presiding Officer, this motion is calling for an expansion of quality childcare services. But I heard this before. Yes, I think it was in 2019. This Tobago House of Assembly announced plans to construct 5 early childhood care and education centers in strategic areas for equitable provision. Yes, pretty words. Bright plans for centers in Adventure. Well, I live very close to Adventure and I haven't seen an ECC center there yet. Corland, Bonaccord, and to the lovely people of Roxborough. And just in case this administration has forgotten, this is well documented on the Public Sector Investment Program 2019 policy, highlighting an $11 million allocation to these centers, and the plans are neatly listed, still on a press release dated August 19, 2019, listing all of the centers. Madam Presiding Officer, today is March the 27th, and to date, not one have been delivered. But we are here speaking about expansion with an assembly, with a track record of non-delivery. That is not ambitious, it is irresponsibility. Madam Presiding Officer, this motion makes a bold claim that a lack of childcare is discouraging women from having children and contributing to the population decline. But I ask, Madam Presiding Officer, where is the data? Where is the consultation? Where is the evidence that this is the primary issue affecting women in Tobago? If we are not even certain of our current population figures here in Tobago, how can we confidently determine the scale of childcare need? Lest we forget, Tobago does not have its own statistical office anymore due to the failures of this assembly. How can we confidently determine the scale of childcare need? Madam Presiding Officer, population trends are complex. Women are now making decisions to have children based on job security, cost of living, infertility, and personal choice. And let's stick a pin on job security. Through you, Madam Presiding Officer, I ask, how does this administration expect women to add to the birth rate when job security and unemployment concern remain our reality? Nurses are still waiting on letters of permanence. The last I checked, teachers are still waiting on a raise of pay. And many Tobagonians like myself exist on short-term contract. So what are we really saying to women? No job security, rising costs, but have more children? Madam Presiding Officer, that is not policy. That is an insult to women. If proper consultation had taken place, this administration would understand that many women are not choosing to have fewer children because of quality child care. Many simply cannot afford to have more children. So I ask, are we solving the real problem or the most convenient one? As we observe Women's History Month, it is concerning that this motion places the burden of child care squarely on the shoulders of women. Where are the fathers in this conversation? Where are the tangible policies that encourage shared responsibility and active caregiving? Because child care is not a woman's issue, it is a societal one. Madam Presiding Officer, this administration is proposing expansion within a social system currently under strain, under-resourced, understaffed, lack of accountability and lack of transparency. And as the minority leader stated, there are 6 social workers serving the entire island of Tobago. 6. Let that sink in. Let that sink in while we think about the unemployed persons with their social work and psychology degree sitting at home. Are we serious in this house?
Remember, your time has expired.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg that 2 minutes of additional speaking time be given to the member to finish her presentation.
Members, the question put is that an additional speaking time of 2 minutes be given to the member to finish her presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say nay. Member, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. As I close, we must consider the economic impact. The Chief Secretary would have mentioned implementing childcare services within the divisions. But what about the childcare providers that exist now? Are they going to be integrated in these systems? Are they going to be replaced? Because quality childcare is not cheap, and affordable childcare does not sustain itself. So I ask through you, what is the sustainable plan, Madam Presiding Officer? Madam Presiding Officer, I am flabbergasted. Madam Presiding Officer, I am blown away that this administration came forward with this motion, asking us to expand with their track record of non-delivery, to decide on a motion without data, and to commit without capacity. Madam Presiding Officer, I ask this administration to please go back to the drawing board, because the women and children of Tobago deserve better than promises and pretty big words. We deserve policy that is planned, funded, and well executed. I thank you.
Councillor Williams, you may now join the debate.
Madam Presiding Officer, honorable members and guests who are viewing, good morning. Madam Presiding Officer, permit me to stand on Standing Order 42. 6.
Member, the leave is granted.
Madam Presiding Officer, the strength of any nation lies in the well-being of its families. Therefore, we, the majority, strongly support the view for expanded childcare services and supportive policies that allow parents to balance work and family life effectively. Today, we are not merely debating childcare facilities. We are debating fairness. We are debating whether the women and girls of Tobago truly have access to participate, to lead, and to thrive. Accessible and affordable childcare is not a luxury. It's a necessity. When childcare is unavailable or too costly, it is women who pay the price. Women leave jobs. Women sacrifice career advancements. Women carry the double burden of work and home. I have experienced a mother leaving her 5-year-old child at home just so that she can go and apply for jobs. Another young lady and I were having a conversation, and she said she would no longer be able to work after she had her third child because no one at home would be able to look after her children. Madam Presiding Officer, we cannot pretend the pot's not boiling when the steam hitting we in the face. If we claim to support gender equality, we must address the structural barriers that prevent women from fully participating in our workforce. Investing in childcare strengthens families, it reduces stress, increases financial stability, and supports the health development of children, the very future of Tobago. A survey conducted among women in government and private institutions in Tobago revealed that 100% of women had to miss work or leave work early for childcare issues. 83% of women believe that more affordable childcare facilities are needed for working parents in Tobago. 60% of women stated that their work hours make it difficult to pick up their children. 60% of women struggle to find someone to care for their child when they need to work. 100% of women agree that workplace flexibility would assist them as working mothers. Madam Presiding Officer, some may argue that childcare is expensive, but I ask, what is more expensive, investing now or paying later through reduced workforce participation, declining birth rates, and economic stagnation? The gift to gain principle is clear. When we support families, we foster economic growth, social stability, and stronger communities. Madam Presiding Officer, declining birth rates are not only demographic statistics. They reflect economic anxiety. Families hesitate to grow when support systems are weak. If Tobago wants sustainable population growth and social stability, then supporting parents is not optional, it is strategic. Furthermore, this motion promotes shared caregiving responsibilities. Equality does not mean women carrying more. It means partnership. It means a policy that encourages balance. We cannot speak about empowering women while ignoring the realities they face at home. Madam Presiding Officer, when the shoe tight, only the person wearing it does feel it, and right now, working mothers feeling the pressure. Let us not reduce childcare to a family issue. It is a national development issue. It is a gender equity issue. It is a justice issue. If we truly stand by our theme, right, justice, action, then today we must choose action. I thank you.
Assembly Member Morrison, you may now join the debate.
Madam Presiding Officer, honorable members, viewers, and members of the public, a pleasant good morning. Madam Presiding Officer, in accordance with Standing Order 42.6, I seek permission to refer to my prepared remarks for accuracy.
Member, the leave is granted.
Over the past couple weeks, we, the minority, have done our research, and we have realized that this conversation is not new to us. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have seen governments increasingly promote childcare systems. And what has been mentioned thus far are funding around daycare centers and regulations on early childhood institutions as solutions that allow parents, especially mothers, the opportunity to return to work more quickly. While these initiatives are often presented as progressive economic policy, they raise deeper questions about who should primarily nurture young children, where early development should occur, and why is economic productivity sometimes prioritized over family well-being? In a society such as Tobago, where family bonds and community caregiving traditions are deeply valued, relying heavily on institutional childcare risk, weakening the emotional connection that shape healthy childhood development. Rather than expanding institutional childcare as the primary solution, policymakers should focus on strengthening the families through extended maternity and paternity benefits. Madam Presiding Officer, elders in our community have emphasized that when a child says their first words, you want it to be mama or dada, not the name of a caregiver. They emphasize this not out of criticism, but out of sadness, because too many parents are being forced to be absent during the months where it matters most. No parent should have to compete for their child's first sense of security. According to John F. Kennedy, children are the world's most valuable resource and its best hope for the future. But clearly, the government is chasing bricks and mortar, putting the cart before the horse to build this so-called future. The emotional bond between parents and their infants is one of the most critical foundations. Everyone knows that bonding begins during pregnancy and strengthens immediately after birth. Research shows that early bonding supports children's socio-emotional development, their physical growth, and a sense of security. The first months of life present a sensitive development window, and when children spend extended periods in institutions, this presents challenges. In Trinidad and Tobago, the Maternity Protection Act currently guarantees approximately 14 weeks. And what? 3 days for the fathers? This is not sufficient. The fact of the matter is, when discussing childcare systems, we need to remember that this in itself is a way of improving children's development. As a mother, and standing in this room with other mothers, 14 weeks is not enough. Extending both benefits to 24 weeks with compensation would allow families to nurture this essential emotional connection. Ultimately, childcare policy reflects what a society values most. If economic productivity becomes the dominant priority, policies may unintentionally separate young children from the very relationship that nurture them. However, if governments prioritize family well-being, they can design policies that support parents rather than replace them. Madam Presiding Officer, Tobago can build a childcare framework that protects both economic stability and the emotional foundation of children. As honorable members of this House, we need to remember that a nation's future depends not only on its workforce, but also on the strength of the families who raise the next generation. I thank you.
Members, before I continue, allow me to remind persons that your cellular phone should be placed on silent, vibrate, or switched off. Thank you. Minority Councillor John, you may now join the debate.
Madam Presiding Officer, honorable members of this Assembly, distinguished guests joining us both online and in person, a pleasant good morning. Madam Presiding Officer, with your permission, under Standing Order 42.6, I wish to read from my extract.
Member, the leave is granted.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Today we are not just discussing childcare, we are discussing the future of Tobago. Because something is changing in our society and not for the better. In recent years, Trinidad and Tobago's fertility rate has dropped to about 1.6 births per woman, according to the Central Statistical Office of Trinidad and Tobago. But when we look at Tobago, the situation feels even more real. We have moved from 900 to 1,000 births per year to just over 400. Madam Presiding Officer, this is not a small job. This is a warning. And we must ask, why is this happening? Is it that people no longer want to have children, or is it that raising a child has become too difficult? Madam Presiding Officer, let us picture something real. If a mother in Charlottesville, Roxborough, Castara, or Bethel cannot access affordable, safe, and reliable childcare, what choice does she really have? Can she go out to work with a peace of mind? Can she build a career? Can she afford to have another child? Or is she forced to stay home, to struggle, or delay having children altogether? This is the reality many women in Tobago are facing right now. Madam Presiding Officer, that is not a choice, that is a trap. The Central Statistical Office of Trinidad and Tobago has shown that fertility rates across the country are falling below what is needed to sustain our population. And in Tobago, the challenge is even more serious. Fewer births, fewer young families, and a growing number of elderly citizens. If this continues, who will wake up? Who will make up our workforce tomorrow? Who will sustain our economy? Who will carry Tobago forward? Madam Presiding Officer, we are already seeing efforts to help. There has been discussion about providing $500 per month to support newborn children. And yes, that is a step in the right direction because it tells us something important. We know families need help. We understand that raising children is expensive. But I ask this Honorable House, is money alone enough? Can $500 a month create a childcare center in Charlottesville? Can it provide a trained caregiver in Roxborough? Can it guarantee safety and peace of mind in Castara or Bethel? Madam Presiding Officer, money can help, but money cannot watch a child. Money cannot raise a child, and money cannot replace a strong childcare system. And who carries the heaviest burden? Women. The International Labour Organization reports that women are far more likely to leave their jobs or reduce their income because of childcare responsibilities. So what are we really saying to the women of Tobago? Work hard, but do it alone. Raise children, but without support. Build a future, but without help. Madam Presiding Officer, that is not fairness. That is failure. But there is hope. And we are already seeing ideas that take shapes because there has been discussions right here in Tobago about providing financial support to mothers of newborns, including grants of around $500. That tells us something important. Yes, we understand the problem, and yes, we know families need help. But financial support alone is not enough because money cannot replace safe childcare centers, money cannot replace trained caregivers, and money cannot replace peace of mind. Madam Presiding Officer, investing in childcare is not an expense. It is an investment in our children, our women, and our future. If we build strong childcare systems, more women can work, more families will feel secure, and more children will be born into stable homes. That is how we grow Tobago. So when some may say this is too expensive, I ask, what is the cost of doing nothing?
Remember, your time has expired.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move that 2 minutes of additional speaking time be given to the member to finish her presentation.
Members, the question put is that 2 minutes of additional speaking time be given to the member to finish her presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say nay. Member, continue.
A shrinking population, a weaker economy, a future where our communities slowly fade, we cannot afford that. Madam Presiding Officer, this motion is more than childcare. It is about giving families a real chance. It is about removing fear from childhood. It is about building a Tobago where people feel supported, not stranded. So I ask this honorable House, if a mother cannot find childcare, how can we expect her to build a future? If families feel unsupported, how can we expect them to grow? If not now, then when? If not us, then who? Let it be said that this honorable House chose action over delay, support over struggle, and future over decline. Let it be said that we did not ignore the warning signs, we answered them. Let it be said that we stood for the women of Tobago, we stood for our families, and we stood for our future. I thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Assembly Member Alexander, you may now join the debates.
Madam Presiding Officer, members of this Honorable House, members in the public gallery, online viewers, a pleasant good morning. Madam Presiding Officer, I seek leave to use Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts from my presentation.
Member, the leave is granted.
Thank you. Today, I begin with a voice that reflects the lived realities of many in our society. It was the moment when it was not about me. Nauseous and vomiting, what could it be? In the midst of the night, I am squirming on the ground. While he is busy at work, no time to be around. No help, no comfort, no choice but to fall asleep. Until I was awakened by his warm morning kiss on my cheek. Apologizing for the night, he worked late. Yet asking me to understand, he will be home at 8. I coiled back into bed with the thought in my head. Could I be pregnant, or is it a sickness instead? I ran to the bathroom and took 3 pregnancy tests, anxious for the results, which made me scream, yes, yes, yes! I sat dinner for my husband to compliment the good news. 5 minutes to the hour, I sat and stared at the gate. With no fuss, no worry, I kept the faith. Although it was 12 a.m., it was worth the wait. Keys turning and rattling, he is opening the door. I woke up questioning, did I doze off? Not sure. He walked into the dining room. Honey, at home. I can tell you waited all night. My dinner is out and cold. A pregnant escaped my lips with a smile of such grace. He replied with a hug, laughter, and kisses all over my face. But fatigue got the best of him, and off to bed he went. The beginning of a period where much time alone was spent. Amongst family and close friends, we shared the fortunate news, the showers of love received, and the blessings of not to lose. I accepted my bundle of joy, my pain, my sacrifice alone. But his job kept him from spending much time with us while I was at home. In the end of trimester 3, oh, where did time go? How I found the strength to endure, only God alone knows. It was a lonely journey. For most days, I was alone. My husband got no time off. For most days, I was alone. Oh, my husband got no time off, so I did everything on my own. And then the fateful day came. Yes, my water finally burst. Home alone at the beginning of labor, I was fearing for the worst. I tried calling him, but to no avail, he did not answer. I couldn't believe at this time I was dealing with voicemail. Welcoming our baby together now seemed to be a dream. And not doing this alone, I thought we supposed to be a team. Under the pressure of pain, popped an accurate thought. Am I in labor while he is busy in court? I got into my car, drove over to his workplace, only to find him in the middle of a court case. In the pain and frustration, I called out his name. The situation was enough to make anyone go insane. The baby come in, and he ain't answer my call. I didn't care about proper language or pleasantries at all. Everyone gasped in awe and turned around in shame. The next thing I heard was a strange voice calling my name. I had fainted, and paramedics were rushed to my aid. For the stress that I'd been through, this was the price that I was to pay. With tubes stuck to my chest and oxygen mask on my face, I was going to have my baby in my husband's workplace. Madam, this service and environment may not be the best. However, we will have to deliver your baby to relieve you both from distress. I turned away my head, for my anger they cannot see. The irony of having my baby in the place that kept him away from me. Then the pushing began, and I made it with God's grace. For a loud squeal soon brought a smile to everyone's face. The applaud of our fortune as we welcome our baby into this world, our greatest trophy, mommy and daddy's little girl. 3 days later, after that glorious day, it was time to go home after the hospital stay. Imagine my disappointment when I learned it was no joke. My husband only got 3 days leave and had to go back to work. I really could not hide this emotional grief to settle for only 3 days of paternity leave. Sometimes I wonder, is he under some spell? We both need him more, but can't he tell? What about the time bonding we talk about? So I had a balanced boat without being in doubt. Heavy chores and preparations, plus the responsibilities of a new baby. If I don't get his assistance, I think I will go crazy. I always compromise to his conditions. But a new baby to first-time parents is a different situation. What do I get? What more do I have to sacrifice?
Your time has expired.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move that 2 minutes of additional speaking time be given to the member to finish her presentation.
Members, the question put is that an additional speaking time of 2 minutes be given to the member to complete her presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say nay. Member, please continue.
Thank you. Lucky day off, uncertain promises, what's your advice? But in a few months, she'll need our reading to lure her off to bed. Soon she will grow out of her arms and try to crawl. And soon we will lose track on how tall she is growing. Or how she will warm our hearts to call us mom and dad. But when I'm the only one around, I can't help but feel real sad. All I want for us to show is her equal love and care. But your job is so demanding that you're mostly there, not here. Madam Presiding Officer, this is not just a poem. This is a lived reality of many women. A reality where motherhood becomes a journey carried mostly alone. Not because fathers do not care, because the system does not allow them to be present. And this is where we must begin our discussion on gender equality. Because when we speak about childcare, we will always focus on how soon we can get a mother back to work. But we fail to ask a more important question. Why is the responsibility of caregiving still falling heavily on women in the first place? We heard the Assembly promote shared caregiving responsibilities, but we may ask, what does shared caregiving responsibility truly mean? And what does a family truly look like in today's society? Because family is not just a one-size-fits-all. Support systems are different. Choices are different. But yet, their burden remains the same. In the story I shared, the father was not absent out of lack of love, but instead, he was absent because work policies and the structure kept him away. But mothers are left to carry the emotional, physical, and mental burden alone. And in those moments, Madam Presiding Officer, what matters most is not provision, it is presence over presence. In the Caribbean, we often say it takes a village to raise a child. Caregiving was not meant to rest on one person. It was meant to share among grandparents, aunts, uncles, and the community. But today, instead of rebuilding shared responsibilities, we are narrowing the solutions to institutions, and we're calling it progress. Yes, childcare institutions can help. They can provide safety, They can allow mothers to work with peace of mind, but they are not the only solution. They should not define what equality looks like, because true gender equality is not about making it easy for women to manage. It is about ensuring that they do not have to do it alone. Support exists for working mother, the stay-at-home woman, the stay-at-home mother, and even women in between, because equality is not about productivity, it is a choice. Madam Presiding Officer, this debate is not just about childcare, it is about fairness. Fairness in responsibility, fairness in support, and fairness in the ability to be present. Because in the end, it will always be presence over presence. I thank you.
Assembly Member Benjamin, you may now join the debate. Member, the leave is granted.
I'd like to pose this question to you, Madam Presiding Officer, and by extension, the House. What is the definition of a good nation? Madam Presiding Officer, to answer that question, based off of UNESCO word definition, the ability to foster high-quality life, happiness, and well-being of the citizens characterized by justice, equality, and human rights, based off of good governance, is what characterizes a good nation. Madam Presiding Officer, this motion improves the services, policies, and resources that help families with childcare. It recognizes that childcare is a responsibility that often falls heavily on women, which can affect education, employment, and overall well-being. Strengthening these systems means creating better access to affordable childcare, parental support programs, workplace policies, and giving families the help they need to raise children more effectively. Madam Presiding Officer, I stand here today as the youngest member of this assembly at just 17 years old to be the voice of reason and to advocate for all the children in need of support and of this childcare system. Madam Presiding Officer, children do not choose the circumstances that they are born into, but they are always the ones who feel the hardest consequences. Madam Presiding Officer, it ranges from child abuse, sexual abuse, as well as parental neglect, Madam Presiding Officer. And not all the time is this neglect based off of choice. Sometimes it stems from single parents not being able to be present all the time because they need to go out and fund the economic resources needed to care for these children. Madam Presiding Officer and members of the House, it is an endless cycle that we see in Trinidad and Tobago, the absentee fathers and the single parent mothers. And not even that, sometimes women are also lackadaisical and fathers need to take up this responsibility. It is an equal and very double-edged sword that leads and is currently tilting in the wrong direction, Madam Presiding Officer. And moving this motion helps to provide all the resources needed to provide for all these children, women, and men in need. Because at the end of the day, it is a family, and the entire family needs care to invest in the future of our nation. Madam Presiding Officer, imagine a child left home alone after school because their parent is not able to be there with them, because their parent has to work long hours to provide whatever is needed for them. The child is falling behind in school because no one is there to assist them with their homework. Madam Presiding Officer, providing these policies and instituting affordable childcare and other institutions that help mothers and fathers to care for their children is very important and should be extended not just to the home, but to the community as a whole, because it takes a community to raise a child. Madam Presiding Officer, In Tobago alone, there are more than 600 cases currently dealing with child neglect, abuse, and other things, Madam Presiding Officer. This was accredited by the Children's Authorities of Trinidad and Tobago. And one thing that I have duly noted is that the rate of boys is significantly more increased than the rate of girls within these institutions. Madam Presiding Officer, why is it that instead of placing books and pens into the hands of our young men so that they may foster greatness in the future, is that we are allowing them to fall prey to systems of gangs and other evil things? Members of the House, many of you here today are mothers, and I'm sure that it hurts your heart and makes you cry to see that your sons and your daughters are falling prey to such horrible things. This policy can institute and build childcare centers so that those in the system may have a place to go, so that they can rest their heads at night and find food and shelter and the comfort needed so that they can grow into something better in the future, so that they may foster the skills and gain the education needed to continue on, so that they may become well-serving and providing members of this society and boost our economy. It is the same government that tells women to increase the rate of childbirth that we need this assistance from so that we may care for these children. We are begging that the government take a stand to institute these changes. We are begging that for all the psychology students who are currently qualified and unemployed, that they may be able to assist in the support system and assist the child authorities in providing care and assistance for children with severe trauma, for parents in need of guidance in how to raise their children, and in need of the ability to speak to someone so that they may get the assistance needed.
Your time has expired. I beg to move that 2 minutes of additional speaking time be given to the member to finish her presentation. Members, the question put is that an additional speaking time of 2 minutes be given to the member to finish her presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? Member, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Madam Presiding Officer, it is expensive to raise a child. There are many things that they need, many things that we are not always able to get them. There are necessities and wants. The necessities: food, clothing, and the ability to have money to go to school. There are things that they may need. Imagine waking up on Christmas morning and you have to look your child in the eyes and say, well, this year we did not have enough money to afford a Christmas present. The child will be tearful and it will hurt your heart knowing that you were not able to give these child the things that they want, the basic needs. Madam Presiding Officer, let me pose a question to the House. It takes, personally speaking, to facilitate transport money for 1 month by herself. My mother has to raise transport money through working. Madam Presiding Officer, can anyone take a guess at how much money is needed to commute myself, my mother, and my siblings to work and school every month? It takes close to $2,000, Madam Presiding Officer. That alone in transport money, including the addition of groceries and rent money. Madam Presiding Officer, it is hard and the economy is growing very much harder. Madam Presiding Officer, it is a horrible sight to see that some of these children are so brilliant and have the ability to become something so great, yet they are unable to do this because lack of finances, lack of necessities. Madam Presiding Officer, I need, and for everyone here, to push this motion so that it can come into play, so that someone can present it to the government system so that they may bring it into being, so that we can see that the children and the women are no longer stressed out, so that they may have something greater at the end of this day and maybe in the future years to come. Madam Presiding Officer, it is an investment in our young ones and our women to make sure that our future of this country and nation by extension is led into greatness. I thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Assembly Member Simmons Noel, you may join the debate.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Madam Presiding Officer, I seek leave as Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts from my speech.
Member, the leave is granted.
Thank you. Madam Presiding Officer, members all, we need this majority to realize that the motion they presented, as my colleagues would have said, though well-intentioned, is as broad as a Dame Lorraine's posterior. And forgive my cultural reference, right? And thus demands a network of creative solutions that are just as broad. I concur with Assembly Member Alexander when she noted that it takes a village to raise a child, and we all seated here today have been impacted in some way by a village raising us. The village provided housing, the village provided food, the village provided care. The village did not just provide supervision. So how then can a policy to really help mothers only concentrate on supervision? One thing is for sure, quality childcare demands a holistic and calculated response engaging all members of society. Why? Because it still takes a village to raise a child, and truly supporting mothers should not be limited to childcare assistance in the form of on-site childcare for divisions only or flexible leave. It requires systemic change. It requires cultural change. It requires support in areas of housing and rent. It requires support in areas of price controls and improved and expanded healthcare. Madam Presiding Officer, when you provide on-site childcare, do mothers live in work? Where do we live after? What do we feed our children? And how do we take care of them with additional supports in systems that currently don't function at their best? I want to refer to a 2020 study found in the BMJ Journal of Pediatrics, right? It says that most medical emergencies regarding children occur outside of regular office hours, and children having these emergencies visiting during the night are relatively more seriously ill than those visiting during office hours. They know that this highlights the need to keep improving emergency care on a 24-hour day-to-day basis. So you see, one of the things we need to include in our policy is strengthening healthcare systems to allow 24-hour emergency care at our local health centers and not just the 2 hospitals on the island. Because quality childcare is not just about who watches the baby while mom is at work. It is about the peace of mind knowing that professional medical support is available in your own community at any hour. True support means that the village doesn't go to sleep when the sun goes down. So we supervise them at work. But where will the children live? Stable housing is not a luxury, and it only takes a bit of anecdotal research to confirm the price of rent raising just as the price of food is like the add east to the rental prices. So we are focusing on quality childcare in terms of supervision. But what if I can't afford a place to live? And in the Tobago space, where land and housing and rental costs continue to rise, not every family is privileged to inherit housing or be availed with access to family land. We need policy that singles out housing and rental support for mothers and families in general. And this means high quality units with reasonable monthly installments. Because when a mother is not consumed by the fear of affording a roof over her head, she can invest her emotional and intellectual energy into her child and not decisively halt opportunities for procreation, just as Jill did. And permit me to share the story about Jill. Jill would be considered a lower middle class employee. She works for a private company, so therefore she would not benefit from the division's on-site child supervision, right? She is married to Jack, a public servant at a local utility company. Neither has inherited family land, and both were forced out of their family homes at an early age due to unfortunate circumstances. Nevertheless, they resolved that they would do right by their own children to ensure that this cycle never repeats itself. They, like many others, enter the existing housing programs with no success, because we know how that goes. Private attempts at land purchases have also failed, as they don't possess the requisite down payments that sellers seem to want right away. It reached a point so bad that one person almost fled when Jack said, "We have to go to the bank and come back." Call after call, one updated application after another, high rental costs, climbing food bills along with other routine expenses made critical saving a dream, Madam Presiding Officer. And Jill discussed with Jack the reality that one child was already a labor of love under these circumstances, and that another one should only come when they reside in their own home. Then one day, the POSH program was advertised, and hope arose in Jack's heart. Maybe they could get something after all. Maybe they could add another baby to the babies that we want here in Tobago. But Jill didn't hold her breath, because, as Assembly Member Sandy said, she read the fine print. Jack was a public servant. However, he wasn't a public servant under the THA. Imagine living and working your whole life in Tobago and not qualifying for support in Tobago due to an administrative technicality. What a shame. Thus, when persons comment Jill on how nicely her child is growing, and when she asks, when you're giving the child a brother or a sister, she often retorts, "When you give me a house." And I shared this, Madam Presiding Officer, to help this chamber understand that the problem of low birth rate really wasn't well thought out by this majority at all. There are so many reasons why the women of today are opting out of heteronormative relationships. That simply means man and woman thing, citing that there's a stress that they could do without. They could do without the lies, they could do without the infidelity, and they could do without the abuse, Madam Presiding Officer. In a 2013 study of 7,000 mothers by today.com, it was found that 46% of women...
Member, your speaking time has expired.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move that 2 minutes of additional time be allotted to the member to finish her presentation.
Members, the question put is that an additional speaking time of 2 minutes be given to the member to finish her presentation. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? Member, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. 7,000 mothers, 46%, cited that their partner provided 8.5 to 10 times more stress than their child or children. Tell me, and like it or not, this research is still heavily quoted today, and ladies may even argue that the stress is so much more. Thus, that is a critical reason why more women are opting out of relationships and children altogether. Madam Presiding Officer, studies show that intimate partner violence, or IPV, is still a commonplace reality in our twin island. And truthfully speaking, it's often sheltered in our Tobago space because everybody knows somebody. Domestic violence is a significant issue in Trinidad and Tobago, with data showing that 30% of women who've ever been in a relationship experience physical or sexual intimate partner violence. Reports include Reports include over 7,500 domestic abuse cases between 2018 and 2022, with a 95% majority of hotline calls made by women heavily involving emotional, physical, and verbal abuse. So to say that on-site childcare, a little extra leave, a free daycare, and $500 per child will actually address a decline in birth rate is like putting a plaster on a gangrenous wound. It does nothing. Let me close with a maths problem for those of us who like math. Let stress be S. Children offer 5S. That's 5 stress. The workplace offers 4S, 4 stress. But we will take that stress because we want the money to mind the children. According to the study, partners provide 10 times more stress than children. Therefore, the man provides 10 times 5, 50S. Let's add 4S plus 5S plus 50S. Where in this Tobago does that maths make sense? It is not about daycare. There is a more serious problem here that we must address. It still takes a village to raise a child, and we have to be creative and broad-ranging with our solutions. Healthcare needs to improve. Our economic program in terms of food security needs to improve. Our social services need to improve. And the men and them simply need to improve. I thank you.
Assembly Member Jack, you may now join the debate.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, and thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this very important debate. I seek leave under Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts from my presentation.
Member, the leave is granted.
Imagine being 15 years old in Tobago, and instead of revising for your exams, you are rocking a crying baby at midnight while your own dreams are slipping quietly away in the dark. There's a vulnerable group that we must protect. Madam Presiding Officer, for many teenage mothers, the future simply becomes harder to reach. While support programs do exist, their reach is sometimes limited and must be expanded to address the complex realities that these young mothers face. Across Trinidad and Tobago, adolescent pregnancy continues to shape the life chances of many young women. In 2023, the adolescent fertility rate stood at approximately 36 births per 1,000 girls aged 15 to 19. This reflects a wider Caribbean trend where teenage pregnancy remains among the highest outside of sub-Saharan Africa. Madam Presiding Officer, you see, when teenage mothers lack support and childcare facilities, 3 serious consequences emerge. First, their education is interrupted. Second, economic vulnerability increases. And third, the cycles of disadvantage are reinforced. But because we on this side are serious about breaking these cycles, we are proposing comprehensive and practical strategies. We are calling for safe and affordable childcare centers so that young mothers can return to school while their children receive proper care from trained and qualified caregivers, and they will also benefit from early stimulation. We are proposing flexible education pathways inclusive of day, evening, online, and certified vocational classes, so that these young women can get an education without stigma or exclusion. We are strengthening health and counseling services, not only for teenage mothers, but also their families. Madam Presiding Officer, empowerment must also include economic pathways, skills training, entrepreneurship membership, job placement partnership, and starter grants, which will be available to help young mothers transition from dependency to productivity. We are proposing social and nutritional assistance, utilizing costs of food, transportation, clothing costs, and loss of income opportunities, which often make program attendance unsustainable. Because on this side, we want to create programs, but we also want to create access to those programs. Importantly, our approach includes island-wide coverage. So whether a mother is from Charlottesville, Castara, or Canaan, she must have equal access to these amenities. Madam Presiding Officer, some may argue that they're hot. Let us stand their own consequences. On this side, we are not rewarding poor choices. We are simply rescuing human potential. Another reality that many teenage mothers face is that they return to unstable home environments. This is why expansion must include safe residential centers with structured daily programs and on-site childcare, because we acknowledge that stability for the mother creates stability for the child. The motion also rightly called for shared caregiving responsibilities, but for far too long, many of the programs are geared towards mothers. We simply see childcare as a woman's duty, but what about the fathers? Are they not an equal part of the equation? We on this side are proposing a variety of father engagement programs, as if we support adolescent mothers, but ignore adolescent fathers. We are simply spinning top in mud. We are not solving the problems, we are merely managing the symptoms. Honorable members, if we fail these girls, we do not save money. We simply postpone the bill to education, to the welfare system, and the next generation. Finally, we also extend a clarion call to all of Tobago, because this is not the business of the government alone. The Tobago private sector, NGOs, faith-based organizations, and communities must become active partners in strengthening the future of these young families, as it takes more than policy to raise a child. It takes a society. Madam Presiding Officer, thank you. Honorable colleagues, thank you.
Assembly Member Patrick, you may now join the debate.
Good morning, Madam Presiding Officer, honorable members, and the listening audience. In keeping with the Standing Order 42.6, please permit me to read from my extract.
Member, leave is granted.
Thank you. In this economic climate, strengthening childcare systems is essential for economic growth, gender equality, and child development. While expanding childcare does require investment, it is not just a cost. It's an economic strategy. Affordable childcare allows mothers, especially single mothers, to continue their education, increasing household income, tax contributions in the long term. This reduces welfare dependency and strengthens the economy. Investing in childcare now prevents higher social costs later, such as unemployment and poverty-related interventions. Madam Presiding Officer, existing services are often limited, unevenly distributed, or difficult to access. Many teenage mothers still face long waiting lists, affordability issues, or lack of nearby facilities. Expansion ensures equitable access and improves quality rather than relying on systems that are already overstretched or insufficient. Some might ask, what proof is there that childcare reduces poverty or dropout rates? Madam Presiding Officer, research currently shows that access to affordable childcare increases school retention and completion amongst young mothers. When childcare is available, teenage mothers are far more likely to return to school or pursue training. This improves their long-term employment prospects and reduces intergenerational poverty. Without childcare, many are forced to drop out permanently. Madam Presiding Officer, some might ask, is childcare not the responsibility of parents and extended families? While families play an important role, not all parents have the reliable or safe support systems. We know now rape, incest, gang influence are steadily on the rise. Economic pressures, migration, and change in family structures mean extended family support is not always readily available. Childcare should be viewed as a shared social responsibility, similar to education, because it directly impacts national development and child well-being. Madam Presiding Officer, did you know or are we aware that there are organizations that are no longer employing women at the rate they used to? Because they are stating women always have problems. Children problems, they have problems with babysitter, man problems. Right. According to Central Statistic Office of Trinidad and Tobago, in 2009 and 2025, two-income households are less likely to fall into poverty. It reduces poverty and improves social mobility, breaks generational curses, poverty cycles, and enables single mothers to work or continue education. I am just starting off in the corporate field, and I would love to climb the corporate ladder, and childcare would allow me to do so. I have 2 kids. So it enables single mothers like myself to work and continue education, thus being able to provide a much more stable home for my family. Thank you.
Assembly Member Murray, you may now join the debate.
Honorable Presiding Officer, esteemed Assembly members, and distinguished onlookers, good morning. I seek permission to utilize Standing Order 42.6, allowing me to refer to my notes while speaking.
Member, the leave is granted.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Today, My aim is not to reject this motion, but to reframe it by grounding our approach in Tobago's cultural roots and long-standing community structures. It takes a village to raise a child. This well-known African proverb reminds us that children are not the responsibility of a single parent or household, but an entire community. Many of us in this honorable house were raised in such environments where neighbors, grandparents, and extended family all played a role, and we stand today as evidence of how effective that system can be. Childcare is not only a service, it is a social responsibility. Honorable members, while formal childcare systems are important, our current approach is insufficient, and it will remain insufficient if we focus only on expanding infrastructure. We are trying to institutionalize what was once natural. Traditionally in Tobago, childcare was shared. Children grew up with strong discipline, identity, and a deep sense of belonging. This reflects the principle echoed in the Children's Authority. Child protection is everybody's business. However, today we have shifted towards individual households and institutional daycare. In doing so, we have weakened community accountability and lost vital support systems. If we ignore the village, we will forever be trying to replace it. Expanding daycare facilities alone treats the symptom, not the cause. Modern childcare systems are expensive to build and maintain. They offer limited spaces and are not accessible to all communities, and often disconnect children from cultural values and family structures. We simply cannot build enough facilities to replace what communities once provided naturally. Development should not erase culture, it should strengthen it. A village-based childcare model offers a powerful alternative. Such a model is not only culturally relevant, but also environmentally sustainable. It utilizes existing community spaces rather than requiring new construction and promotes walkable, connected communities. More importantly, it redistributes the burden of care. Our current system places childcare responsibilities largely on women. A community-based model encourages shared caregiving, engaging men, elders, and other community members. True gender equality would not come from daycare alone, but from redistributing care across society. Honorable members, we can take practical steps towards this vision. We can establish village care circles, networks of registered, trained, and trustworthy caregivers providing infant and after-school care. These systems can be supported and regulated under existing frameworks, such as the Community Residence Foster Care and Nurseries Act, ensuring proper standards and child safety. We can also incentivize extended family care by providing training, small stipends, and oversight for stay-at-home caregivers and relatives. This would expand the pool of available caregivers and reduce the strain on formal systems. Additionally, we can maximize the use of existing infrastructure, community centers, churches, and schools after hours to host childcare and extracurricular activities. This approach ensures that community support systems are not only active, but also structured and safe. In closing, honorable members, this House must not only expand childcare, but redefine it. By investing in both formal facilities and community-based systems, Tobago can build a model that is culturally grounded, environmentally sustainable, and truly supportive of its people. Because in the end, childcare is not just about spaces, it is about people, community, and shared responsibility. Thank you.
Assembly Member Jeffers, you may now join the debate.
Good day, Presiding Officer. Good day, Assembly members. On Standing Order 42.6, I seek permission to read extracts from my speech, from my presentation.
Member, the leave is granted.
Instead of focusing on nice, idealistic policies that move no one and helps no one, why don't we focus on the fact that the last survey to produce data on our families in Tobago was way back in 2024 and was about budgetary concerns. This survey was called the Household Budget Survey. Before that, the previous survey was the National Register of Vulnerable Persons Sample Survey. It was conducted in August 2023 to collect data on how to improve social services. I say all that to say this. There is no relevant, specific, child-centered survey giving information about the Tobago children or the caretakers who are responsible for them. This administration proposes for a survey to be done investigating the livelihoods, the well-being, and the quality of care for each and every Tobago child. Subsequently, the parents and the guardians who are responsible for them. This survey can be carried out by the Policy Research and Development Institute, or for short, the PRDI. This is a government agency, and using this government-paid agency to complete this survey will be putting our government taxes to proper use. This survey will have a one-year timeline, and at the end of this duration will report its findings back to this committee, because this is an administration that values integrity, this is an administration that values accuracy, and this is an administration that values accountability. The survey will use the legal definition of a child as a person under the age of 18. We all, as Tobago citizens, can benefit greatly from this survey. It will reflect and present neglected issues that are plaguing our society. It will investigate single fathers and single mothers, children with disabilities, overlooked departments, and underused policies. This survey will gather objective, qualitative, and quantitative data. Your honorable members, today we sat here in this chamber and heard about all the nice things those people on the other side has to say. They say they want to help children and bring justice to overlooked and underfunded and overworked mothers. We have had this motion for several weeks, and all they could come up with was nice think pieces. They have no real way of making childcare accessible to the wider republic, but they feel free to make baseless and pointed claims. They spoke about Tobago having 6 social workers. This is very laughable. Presiding officer, Tobago and the employ of the government has several institutions dedicated to and heavily employing social workers. For example, the Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development, Health and Social Services, and Ministry of Social Development, just to name a few. To conclude this assembly meeting, one of our end goals is to mandate PRDI to conduct a survey about the welfare of children and the conditions that they live in. We also promote providing educational programs and skill training for teenage mothers. We also promote affordable childcare to the members of the public. We also promote including the fathers of these children in father engagement programs. We also promote providing more maternity rest for working women. At the end of the day, we all need to put aside our differences and fight for the future of our children and their right to a high quality of life. We need to vote for the majority so that all of Tobago's children's future can burn bright. Madam Presiding Officer, I rest my case.
Councillor Murray, you may now join the debate.
Honorable Presiding Officer, fellow members of this esteemed House, members of the general public, good morning. Pursuant to Standing Order 42.6, I seek permission to refer to my notes for accuracy.
Member, the leave is granted.
Today, I rise in support of this motion to highlight a clear reality. When childcare systems fail, it is often the women who carry the burden. In Trinidad and Tobago, women are leading in development. According to Education Statistics Digest 2022, they make up over 66% of the tertiary enrollment and graduation, and approximately 43.7% of the workforce. Madam Presiding Officer, the data tells us that women are prepared, women are qualified, and women are ready. And yet, many are still being pushed out of opportunities because the harsh reality is, when childcare is unavailable, careers are paused, incomes are reduced, and opportunities, many opportunities, are lost. Honorable members, even within this House and across demanding professions in Tobago, healthcare, education, and public service, women continue to carry responsibilities that do not end after the working hours. And while fathers may contribute, they do not on average carry the same daily childcare burden as women. When a child is sick, it is often the mothers who leave work. When childcare systems fail, it is often the mother who has to adjust. And too often, I say too often, it is her career that is sacrificed. That is imbalance, and that imbalance is real in Tobago society. So we must ask ourselves, what is the value of educating our women if we do not create systems that allow them to remain in the workforce? Honorable members, this is inequality, and not by ability, but by access. Let us bring it home to Tobago. A qualified woman in Scarborough, a trained professional in Canaan, and a skilled worker in Roxborough. Not underprepared, but unsupported. If we are serious about justice and development, we must address unequal caregiving responsibilities. Women are doing their part. Now it is time for policy to do its part. By strengthening childcare systems, we unlock the full potential of our people. We cannot continue to celebrate women's successes in education while ignoring the systems that prevent them from succeeding in life. Honorable Presiding Officer, the minority may choose comfort in inaction and may choose to criticize without contributing. But this majority refuses to stand still. We rather be remembered as a government that tried and failed than a government that never tried at all. Because leadership is not about avoiding risk. It is about taking responsibility. And today, we stand on the side of responsibility, progress, and the people we were elected to serve. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer.
Honorable Chief Secretary, Member for Palliative Care and Speyside, you may now wrap up the debate.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Madam Presiding Officer, it is alarming to see that the minority leader and the minority councillor is asking me about employment. Madam Presiding Officer, we are a newly elected administration. They were in power for 21 years. Ask them what they did. Madam Presiding Officer, this is our third sitting, and we brought more relevant issues than they brought for 21 years. Madam Presiding Officer, but never mind. Let us get back to the motion at hand. Madam Presiding Officer, as I close this debate, let us reflect on what truly matters. This is not about policy or workplace structure. It is about women who rise every day carrying the responsibility of caring for their child or children while striving to meet the demands of their job. In today's debate, we heard about mental health, special needs children, mothers, teenage mothers, low fertility rates, and much more. This administration is not going to ignore the issues anymore, like the opposition for 21 years. Madam Presiding Officer, we are going to create policies, regulations through the Division of Health and Wellness in collaboration with the Division of Education, Research and Technology to develop and establish national standards and safety when implementing our on-site childcare facilities. Madam Presiding Officer, by implementing supportive measures such as flexible work arrangement, child support, and access to mental health resources, we can create economy which women can succeed both as caregivers and professionals. Let us remember that behind every role, every title, every responsibility is a human being who deserves care, respect, and support. So today, I urge us all to move from beyond discussion and into action. Let us play our part in building workplaces that uplift and improve and protect the mental health and well-being of every woman, and let us continue to make this island the greatest little island on the planet. I thank you.
Honorable members, the question put is, whereas the Tobago House of Assembly recognizes that accessible and affordable childcare is essential to the well-being of families, women's participation in the workforce, and the long-term sustainability of Tobago's population. And whereas the absence of adequate childcare facilities places a disproportionate burden on women, discourages family formation, and contributes to declining birth rates and population growth challenges. And whereas the Give to Gain principle affirms that investing in childcare enables women to balance work and family life, support child development, and creates conditions conducive to stable population growth, be it resolved that this Honorable House calls for the expansion and equitable provision of quality, affordable childcare facilities across Tobago. Be it further resolved that the Assembly promotes policies encouraging shared caregiving responsibilities and work-life balance, recognizing childcare investment as a strategic response to social stability and population growth. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no. Motion carried.
Motion for adjournments.
Madam Presiding Officer, I beg to move that this House stands adjourned to a date to be fixed.
Members, the question put is that the House now stands adjourned to a date to be fixed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no. The ayes have it. This House now stands adjourned for a date to be fixed.
Mr. Niall George, Presiding Officer of the Tobago House of Assembly, members of Parliament, members of the Assembly, former parliamentarians, and members of the Tobago House of Assembly, Chief Administrator of Tobago House of Assembly, Mrs. Denise Toby Kwashi, administrators, Clerk of the Assembly, Mr. Lincoln Nelson, principals and students, specially invited guests, members of the media, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good day. I am Tiana Winchester, and it is truly an honor to stand before you today as the Master of Ceremonies for this International Women's Day debate here in the Assembly Chamber. As an alumni of the People's House and as someone who has had the privilege of debating at both the 2023 Tobago Day Youth Debate and the 2025 International Women's Day Debate, this moment is especially meaningful to me. It fills me with pride and hope to see so many young women present, engaged, and willing to share their voices on issues that matter. And there is something especially powerful about having this conversation here, in this chamber, in the presence of leaders, policymakers, and distinguished guests. Because when issues affecting women, families, and children are discussed in a space as this, they are no longer distant concerns. They become matters of leadership, policy, and national responsibility. Now, let me ask you something. How many of us have heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child? Show by a raise of hands. Because the truth is, we all know the phrase. We have heard it time and time again. But the real question is, where is that village today? Today is not just another debate. It is a conversation grounded in lived experience. It is about the mother forced to choose between keeping her job and caring for her child. It is about families doing their very best to survive and succeed, often without the support systems they genuinely need. And so on this International Women's Day debate, we do more than celebrate. We confront, we question, and we reflect. On one side of this debate, we have heard that the case of childcare is not a luxury, but a necessity, a form of social infrastructure just as vital as roads, schools, and healthcare. On the other hand, we have heard arguments that raise important concerns around affordability, implementation, and whether the responsibility rests with the state, the family, or somewhere in between. But let us be very clear. This is not just political or economic. This is personal. Because behind every policy discussions are real people, real households, and real sacrifices. How many of you here today were raised by a mother alone, or by an aunt, or by a grandmother? Take a moment and look around this room. For many of us, that is not just a question. It is our story. It is our home. It is our reality. And so today, before we go any further, I want to speak directly to the mothers, the aunties, and the grandmothers in this room. We see you. We see your strength even on the days when you feel like you have none left. We see your sacrifice even when it goes unnoticed. We see the way you carry families, households, and generations on your backs, often without complaint and far too often without support. Your frustration does not define you. Your tears do not make you weak, and your ambition does not make you selfish. Let me say that again. Your ambition does not make you selfish. So when you hear comments like, go and cook for your child, or you have other things to focus on, or that you cannot be a part of politics because you have a child to care for, I want you to challenge that narrative.
Remember this moment. Look around this room and know that those words are false. You are powerful. And now I invite everyone, especially the women and girls in this room, to repeat after me. I am powerful. I am resilient. I am deserving of support. And my voice matters. Let those words sit with you. Those tears are not signs of weakness, they are evidence of endurance. They are proof that even while carrying burdens that would break many, you still chose to fight, to rise and to keep going. So to every mother, every grandmother, and every aunt who has stepped in, stood up, and shown up, please give yourself a round of applause. Not out of pity, not out of pity, but out of recognition, because you have earned it. And in the Caribbean, where so many families are built on the strength of women, where so many homes are held together by mothers, grandmothers, and aunties, how can we not ask the hard question? If women are carrying so much weight, why are there not stronger systems in place to carry them too? And now to the daughters, the granddaughters, and the nieces in this room, never forget the love that raised you, the care that covered you. Never forget the women in whom so many households had to be both protector and provider, both comfortable and disciplinarian, both mother and father, and still found the strength to show up day after day. That is not ordinary. That is extraordinary. That is resilience. And that is sacrifice. And that is love in one of its most powerful forms. At this time, I would like to welcome Clerk of the Assembly, Mr. Lincoln Nelson, to bring the welcome greeting.
Mr. Niall George, Presiding Officer of the Tobago House of Assembly, Members of Parliament, Members of the Assembly, former parliamentarians and members of the Tobago House of Assembly, Chief Administrator of the Tobago House of Assembly, Mrs. Denise Toby-Quashie, administrators, principals and students, specially invited guests, members of the media, online viewers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a special good afternoon. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome each and everyone to the Assembly Legislative Chamber on our International Women's Day Debate 2026. Today, our debate recognizes that across the globe, and with specific emphasis on Trinidad and Tobago, many women balance employment, informal work, and caregiving responsibilities. While family support systems are common, gaps remain in affordability, access, and quality childcare. Strengthening the childcare system is essential for women's economic empowerment and children's development. Our debaters have provided us with relevant information that will allow us as a people to focus, develop, and/or improve mechanisms and structures to afford our women the opportunity to continue to add to the economic fabric of our society without the worry of their children being neglected or unsupervised. Thank you, debaters. You have done extremely well in your presentations. Granted, I was not here to hear all of it. Unfortunately, I would have allowed my ladies to be part of the viewing gallery, so therefore the men had to man the station. So I was up and down doing everything, all over the place. I do hope that some, if not all of you, will see this experience as a probable career path. So it's our subject matter experts. Thank you. The legislator extends its gratitude for your partnership and the wealth of knowledge imparted to our debaters. To the staff of the Assembly Legislature, who have worked tirelessly to execute this phenomenal endeavor, many, many thanks. Please note that your works and efforts are being recognized as they continue to redound to the benefit and objectives of the legislature. Ladies and gentlemen, with these few words, I again warmly welcome you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your words were greatly appreciated. It is now my honor to invite Mrs. Lynette Bacchus, Manager, Tobago Operations, Children Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, to bring remarks.
Let me stand on all protocols observed. Good afternoon, everyone. As I begin my remarks, I want to take this moment to congratulate the debaters who eloquently and passionately presented their arguments this morning. Congratulations, ladies. Job well done. Ladies and gentlemen, the Children's Authority is pleased to have been invited to partner with the Assembly Legislature, Tobago House of Assembly, for the annual International Women's Day debate. Today's discussion on strengthening childcare support systems for women and families is rooted in the work of the Children's Authority as we promote the well-being of the child. Our vision is that all children of Trinidad and Tobago are at the best that they can be. However, for our children to achieve their fullest potential, we need to defend and support their rights and make, as we said today, child protection everybody's business. On Wednesday, I had the privilege of presenting to the debaters the magnitude of what we are facing at the Children's Authority regarding the number of cases of children who have been abused. In fact, the data shows that our children are not being protected by those who have been entrusted with their care. At present, we have an active caseload of over 600 cases in our little island of Tobago who have been neglected, being the highest form of abuse, closely followed by sexual and physical abuse. And as you passionately heard them say, we have 6 social workers at the Children's Authority to treat with those issues. Every day those cases are rising, as we have sometimes per month almost 13 to 20 new cases coming at the attention of the authority. So we are also seeing an increase in the number of children presented with mental health and behavioral challenges. The statistics are alarming, but I want us to understand that these statistics represent children. Children whose lives have been negatively impacted by their parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, godparents, family, friends, teachers. We are sometimes so focused on abuse being perpetrated by a stranger that we often overlook those who are in close proximity of the child. And for many reasons and challenges that we shared today, may be our shortcomings. We may be wondering where in Tobago abuse takes place. Some may say abuse doesn't happen in their community, home, place of worship, or even schools. But unfortunately, at the authority, we receive reports from abuse from every village and community in this little island, this paradise that we call Tobago. So I want to thank those persons who have courageously called our hotline at 996 or the police to report concerns that may have been about the child's welfare. Also, we ask that you give us the opportunity to investigate reports and determine what is the best interest of the child. The authority's philosophy is that children thrive best in a family environment. So our goal is to build capacity within families to care for their own children. In fact, the removal of a child is always a last resort. It is never a first response. If we determine during our investigation that it is not possible or appropriate and in the best interest of the child to remain with their birth parents, only then will we remove the child and seek to first place the child in another family environment. This often is challenging though, because relatives are not reluctant to provide support. That's the reality. This reluctance is felt when we consider how limited our placement options truly are, and it undersources the urgent need for conversations about how we can collectively increase the number of safe spaces available to children who have experienced abuse. The island currently only has 2 children's homes under the division and 2 reception centers under the Children's Authority. But the centers, unlike the children's homes, are temporary placement options where children stay up to 12 weeks while we consider find long-term placements to secure. We also have just 10, we only have just 10 approved foster care providers in Tobago, just 10 in all of the island of Tobago. And every week, the team receives, as I said, a request to place a child in need of care and protection. This reality makes it clear why placement within a family setting is not simply our preference, it is often a necessity. Some of you may remember that there was a time, as everybody said, when the entire village raised the child. Aunts took in nieces and nephews, grandparents anchored the households, neighbors noticed and acted. We must find a way to reclaim that spirit, not as nostalgia, but as strategy, since family support is critical to raising well-adjusted young men and women. So, ladies and gentlemen, our children need environments in which their voices are heard and they feel valued and respected. Therefore, we at the authority are heartened by today's discussion as it recognizes the value of strengthening systems that support women and men in raising children, the future of Tobago. I wish to thank the Assembly Legislature and all organizations for today's event for once again creating a space for thought-provoking discussions, and in particular on issues regarding the safety and well-being of Tobago's children. Our debaters have spoken with clarity and conviction. I really felt convicted today. Now, the question before us all is this: what do we do with these insights? Debate must become a catalyst for action. Child protection is everybody's business. It is not the responsibility of the authority alone. We exist as part of a wider ecosystem of support for children and families. And today's discussion has reinforced precisely why this ecosystem must be strengthened. So as I close, I call on every person in this room and those viewing online to carry today's conversation back to your homes, back to your workplace, back to your communities, among yourself. The future of Tobago depends on all of us choosing every day to defend and support children's rights. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lynette Bacchus, for those informative words. In continuation of these proceedings, I ask Secretary of the Division of Public Infrastructure and Transportation, Mrs. Nathisha Charles Panton, to deliver her address.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Presiding Officer, honorable members of the Assembly, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Permit me first to extend sincere appreciation to you, Mr. Niall George, and the Assembly Legislature for the invitation and for the legislature's continued commitment to creating a space for meaningful dialogue in observance of International Women's Day. These conversations challenge us, ground us, and can be the catalyst in pushing us toward action. We all know the saying, who feels it knows it. And there is perhaps no truer example of that than the everyday life of a mother. She wakes before the sun rises, preparing meals, ironing uniforms, ensuring everything is in place before the day begins. She navigates transportation, ensures her children get to school or care, and then steps into her role as a professional at her place of work. And when the day ends, her responsibilities do not. There is homework, meals, emotional support, and the many unseen tasks that keep a household together. And for many women in Tobago, particularly those in single-parent households, this responsibility is not shared. It is carried wholly and consistently by them with no choice but to get it done, even when the pressure is too much. And who feels it truly knows it. It is within this reality that we must understand what we mean when we speak about support. And the focus of today's debate, strengthening childcare systems. Because support is not only about having somewhere for a child to stay, but creating an environment where women and families can function with stability, dignity, and peace of mind. In its strongest form, childcare support allows families to go beyond coping, but to thrive. We are seeing clear shifts in our social fabric. The village that once helped raise our children, grandparents, aunts, neighbors, is not as strong or as available as it once was. Families are smaller, support systems are stretched, and in many cases, mothers are navigating it all with limited help. Even when government support exists, free education, school feeding programs, and student transport, other barriers remain. Work schedules often extend beyond the traditional 8 to 4, yet childcare systems are not always designed to match this reality. Families in North and East Tobago and other rural communities may face additional challenges with access to quality care and essential resources. We must also remember the developmental needs of children. Stability, routine, and timely access to psychological assessments and support services, particularly for children with special needs, are crucial. Faster intervention allows mothers to provide the care their children need and helps shape the future of Tobago. Even as we acknowledge these challenges, we must recognize the resilience of Tobago families. Through determination, love, and sacrifice, families have always found ways to make it work, but they should not have to do it alone. So what does meaningful support look like? It looks like workplaces that recognize and respond to the realities of parenting. It looks like communities rebuilding the sense of shared responsibility. It looks like accessible, responsive systems designed with the realities of our people in mind. As members of the Tobago House of Assembly, it is our responsibility to make these changes happen, to ensure that support systems exist for families and children, and that no mother or caregiver is left to navigate these challenges alone. And within this, the role of infrastructure and transportation is vital. Childcare support is proper and functional facilities. And childcare support is also about families moving safely and reliably between home, school, and work. And the Secretary of Public Infrastructure, with the newly added responsibility of transportation on the island, I recognize that access is a critical part of support. As a policymaker, part of my focus is on modernizing and strengthening our transportation system so that it better serves the realities of our people and contributes meaningfully to that support system. Strengthening childcare support systems is therefore not the responsibility of one entity alone. It is a shared responsibility. Government, workplaces, communities, and individuals, we all have a role to play in ensuring that our families and children have the support they deserve. We must rebuild the village. And as we provide the necessary support, we strengthen families, and when families are stronger, Tobago is stronger. The ideas and perspectives that emerge from this debate are all relevant, and I reaffirm my commitment as a member of public office to play my part in advancing meaningful support for the women and families of Tobago. I thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Nathisha Charles Pantin, for your address. And lastly, I call upon Mr. Presiding Officer Niall George to address this assembly.
Good morning. Oh, good afternoon. I was having so much fun. Members, well, first let me acknowledge Deputy Chief Secretary, Assembly Member Faith Grebner, Assembly Member Zarisha Hackett, Assembly Member Nathisha Charles Pantin, Assembly Member and Deputy Presiding Officer Nikita Percy, former members of Parliament, other members of the Tobago House of Assembly, administrators, clerk of the Assembly, Lincoln Nelson, special invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, a special good morning. Good afternoon. Allow me to first congratulate all our participants. I commend each of you for your bravery and effort. You all gave spirited, well-researched contributions, and it takes a lot of bravery to come here and debate today. I would like to thank you for taking the initiative to participate in today's debate. I hope that you would inspire other women, both young and old, to participate in next year's event. The month of March is a special month where we get to show appreciation and honor our women. Under UN's International Women's Day theme, Rights, Justice, and Action for All Women and Girls, we curated and planned this debate to facilitate active dialogue on the important topic of accessible childcare. This year's theme, Strengthening Childcare Support Systems for Women and Families, remind us of a foundational component of our society, the family. It is within this unit that we are first socialized and were modeled to the people that we are today. A woman's role in this unit as a mother and nurturer is unique and profoundly important. At the same time, women today also contribute extensively as professionals in the workforce. According to the International Labour Organization, globally, women's labor force participation is between 47 to 49%, compared to approximately 73% for men. In Trinidad and Tobago, women's workforce participation is 48%. Further, 45% of women cited caregiving responsibilities as a primary barrier to active labor force participation, while only 5% of men cited this reason. Data from various sources illustrate the dual reality of women. Women provide the majority of unpaid caregiving, often shouldering primary responsibility for young children, while also participating significantly in professional roles. In many contexts, mothers of young children experience lower labor force participation rates than women overall, or men with children. For instance, gaps of several percentage points are common, influenced by the demand of early childcare. Studies consistently show that lack of accessibility, affordable childcare correlates with reduced maternal employment, with estimates indicating that a 10% reduction in childcare costs can be associated with an increase in maternal employment ranging from 0.25% to 11%. Women frequently balance these responsibilities, nurturing the next generation at home while bringing skills, dedication, and innovation to workplaces across sectors. Evidence suggests that when families have reliable childcare options, many mothers are better able to sustain or increase their workforce participation without fully stepping away from caregiving roles at critical early stages. This can support household stability and broader economic participation. Stronger childcare systems have been linked in some researches to higher female labor force participation rates, with effects observed particularly among the married women or those in certain age groups, contributing to overall family and community resilience. Today, it is not my goal to bore you with the same points debaters raised today, but rather echo these concerns as they are important. The debaters today raised excellent points from both sides, and it is clear they conducted meticulous research to bring their presentations today. Some of you debated as though you have been doing this for years, and I commend you for your dedication in the past month. The presenters highlighted the complexities involved, economic considerations, family dynamics, workforce needs, and long-term societal impacts. I hope today's dialogue will resonate with the policymakers present and the larger public, encouraging continued discussion outside this room on ways to strengthen support systems that benefit women, families, and communities alike. In closing, I want to thank the team at Assembly Legislature who worked tirelessly to train and execute this event. And I'd like to give special mention here to Ms. Aviana Allen and Mr. Ajay Allen, who went beyond the call in preparing the debaters that are here today. Once again, I congratulate the debaters and I say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer, for your address to this Assembly. The Assembly will now recognize participants through awarding of certificates. Firstly, I call on Deputy Presiding Officer and Assistant Secretary of Tourism, Antiquities and Creative Industries to present the first round of certificates. And while this Assistant Secretary makes his way, I first call on
Nicole Hazel, Assemblyman of Bethesda, Lescotto. In the middle of the horseshoe. Secondly, I call Assemblyman Corey Sobers Roberts of Pallitivere, Speyside. I now call on Assemblyman Petula Jack for Bacatel. Now I call on Assembly Member Alison Patrick for Bonacourt Crown Point. I now call on Assembly Member Ayana Saul for Scarborough Mount Grace. She isn't here. Right. Well, it seems as though she is not here, so we move on quickly. Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer and Assistant Secretary Nikita Percy. Right. For the second batch of certificates, I call on Secretary Dr. Faith Bremner for the Division of Health and Wellness. And while she's making her way, I call on Assembly Member Celine Williams. I now call on Councillor Yankee Murray. Councillor Kalyan John. And now Assembly Member Kenaya Benjamin for Bethel Newgrange. Thank you. Now please join me in welcoming Secretary of Tourism, Antiquities and Creative Industries, Ms. Arisha Hackett. And while she is making her way to the middle of the horseshoe, I now call on Assembly Member Liddell Jeffers for Buku Mount Pleasant. I now call Nikoni Morrison for Signal Hill Patient Hill. Assembly Member Jaleesa Simons Noel for Plymouth Blackrock. Now Assembly Member Danielle Murray for Mount St. George Goodwood. Right, thank you, Secretary Haki. Yes. Right. We are now delighted to invite Secretary of Public Infrastructure and Transportation, Ms. Nathisha Charles Pantin. And while she's making her way, I invite Assembly Member Naomi Alexander for Lambo Lowlands. I now call Minority Councillor Brittany Duncan. Assembly Member Ashley Sandy for Dar Springwim. I now call on Clerk of the Assembly, Naomi Archie. And lastly, but certainly not least, Presiding Officer Naisha Legerton. Thank you. We will now proceed with the presentation of tokens to our facilitators who have expertly guided our debaters throughout their training. And on that note, we invite Mr. Presiding Officer to present the tokens. Right, and while he is making his way, I call on Miss Lynette Bacchus, Manager, Tobago Operations, Children Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. I now call on Quenisha Jack, Child Authority, to receive her token. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. As we come to the close of this debate, let us take a moment to reflect. Because beyond the arguments, the rebuttals, and the points of contention, there is a deeper truth at the center of this conversation. Childcare is not simply about supervision. It is about opportunity. It is about dignity. It is about who gets the freedom to dream, to work, and to build a future without being forced to choose between ambition and family. To those joining us here in the public gallery and those viewing online, thank you for your time, your attention, and your engagement. We extend sincere appreciation for your presence and continued support. To our debaters, you did more than present arguments today. You gave voice to realities being lived across Tobago. Special thanks goes to Ms. Lynette Bacchus, Manager of Tobago Operations, Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, and Ms. Quenisha Jack, along with the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago by extension, for the invaluable guidance, insights, and support provided throughout the training. Your role in facilitating and thoroughly guiding the participants through these important discussions helped to cultivate a space for impactful reflection, respectful dialogue, and informed contribution, and for that, sincere appreciation is extended. Heartfelt appreciation is due to the dedicated staff of the Assembly Legislature whose hard work behind the scenes made today's proceedings seamless and impactful. Their efforts not only supported this event, but helped to create a space where meaningful dialogue could truly thrive. Thank you for your invaluable contribution. Sincere thanks goes to the Clerk of the Assembly, Mr. Lincoln Nelson, for his professionalism and steady guidance in ensuring today's proceedings ran smoothly. His role in upholding the standards and order of this Honorable Assembly is deeply appreciated. And to Niall George, Mr. Presiding Officer of the Tobago House of Assembly, your leadership in maintaining and strengthening this honorable house ensures that spaces such as this remain relevant, purposeful, and accessible for meaningful national discourse. This chamber does not simply exist as a place of discussion, it stands as a symbol of representation, of accountability, and of the voices of the people of Tobago. On behalf of all present, we thank you for your stewardship and your continued dedication to upholding this institution. And on this International Women's Day debate, let us remember, when we support women, we support families. When we support families, we strengthen communities. And when we strengthen communities, we build a better Tobago for us all. I am Tiana Winchester, and it has been an absolute pleasure guiding you through today's proceedings. Debaters and dignitaries, please make your way to the center of the horseshoe to facilitate the official group photo. At this time, invited guests are kindly asked to proceed to the tea room for a light cocktail reception. Please enjoy the refreshments, take the opportunity to connect, and continue the conversations. Thank you.
What I looking forward for my newborn? Well, I hear Chief Sex say. I think it's $500, but still up to now, I never really hear as to what is the procedure to get that, but I hold in the faith.
We are here in beautiful Scarborough asking the public their opinions on the motion for the upcoming International Women's Day debate, strengthening our childcare support systems for women and family. We're here talking to the average person, getting their feedback on how they feel about our childcare services and what we can do to do better for our women and our families.
I believe that they could open more free daycares. When I say free, I mean free. Well, the present Prime Minister she had a baby grant that they did cut the other day. That was a big help for plenty, yes, working mothers, because when you're out there and you have nobody to help you, sometimes you get paid and you ain't have to see where the money go.
It could make us too dependent, and we already have so much of a dependency syndrome. That's the bad. On the other side, things are expensive, and I know that it will help a lot of mothers.
What is your opinion in terms of the government brought about more government-assisted or free childcare services, or specifically daycare?
These days, you cannot leave your kids any and anywhere. You can't trust anybody, not even the neighbors, because there's so much incest and all these things happening nowadays. that you can't really trust anybody. So I definitely agree with the daycare system being implemented on the jobs.
Because I am fortunate that I have my mom to be there for me. But there's a lot of young ladies today that don't have that support.
I think they can come up with a program that could help them the learning process to become a mom, because some of them are young mothers who doesn't know about motherhood or mother care now. And a program should help them to learn more about bringing up a family.
And there you have it. Remember, check us out live for the International Women's Day debate on the legislature's Facebook and YouTube Friday, 27th of March at 10 a.m.
Niall George, presiding officer of the Tobago House of Assembly here. I'm inviting everyone to log in to our International Women's Day debate, carded for March 27th at the Assembly Legislature.
I am Nikaisha Legaton, your presiding officer for the International Women's Day Debate 2026.
My name is Kenaya Benjamin, member for Bethel Newgrange.
My name is Ashley Sandy, and I am the minority leader for Friday's debate representing Darrell Spring WIM.
Our ladies take center stage, where they will be debating on the theme, strengthening childcare support systems for women and children.
Interacting with my colleagues and the opposition has been such a whirlwind experience.
My experience in the program has been an awesome one. The ladies are energetic, excited, and filled with knowledge.
So far, my experience has been rather educational. My expectations for Friday would be to gain a new opportunity to learn different things, especially as a young woman coming up.
My experience has been very informative, a bit emotional based on the motion, and the facilitators have been very engaging. Our mentor has been a great help, and going into Friday's debate, I am quite confident.
You can log into our YouTube stream or log into the Facebook page at Assembly Legislature.
I expect a very successful debate from both sides, but may the best win.